This is the U.S. intelligence agency, mind control.
Thousands of people have been injured by violence at student protests in Bangladesh. Police fired tear gas and charged with batons after fighting broke out between rival groups near Dhaka on Monday. Students have been protesting for 2 weeks, calling for an end to what they say are discriminatory quotas for public service jobs. They say it favours supporters of the ruling party.
Now, remember, if you remember, and you were watching, I mentioned this 2 weeks ago. And I said it's just on the radar, and we'll see what happens. Because I literally brought up the garment industry in Sheikh Hasina, and you know, and we've done past content where we talk about the election. And
I think we explicitly talked about the quotas. We explicitly talked about the way that the government employs.
Also, like a lot of these, you know, you see it a lot. I mean, it's like our migrant industry with Home Depot. You know, you line up and hopefully you get work, right?
Yeah.
Well, for more, we're joined from Dhaka by Tanvir Chowdhury. And Tanvir, so calls for a more meritocratic system in Bangladesh. What's the latest on the protests?
Well, where you see right behind me is the Dhaka University campus. This area was a stage for violence yesterday all day long. Now it's quiet. It's guarded by the pro-ruling party student wings with sticks and helmets. They're in the whole area. So the students protesting for the quotas are not entering this area to avoid clashes, but they're in different parts of the city.
Yeah,
now even the private university students.
Common with a lot of like protests like this, but the factionalism that has developed so fast here.
Oh, really?
I mean, yeah. I mean, it started as just like this, like he's saying right here is the pro Sheikh Hasina. Right, the pro ruling class.
So it brought counter protesters out, and now
but it's awesome. So they're literally saying it's like rival gang fights that are going on. That's how it's been, a lot of the reporting has been.
Okay, I mean, it's a little disingenuous.
Well, I mean, you know, they may so a lot of stuff that they'll say is like sports stuff that happens and. Is like will be associated with gangs sometimes too.
Yeah.
From different parts of the city and across the country have joined in protest, and they're blocking intersection in different parts of the city. Literally, the whole city is paralyzed. It's very tense from the violence of last night, which stayed till almost 1 p.m. this morning. There was violence in several universities across the country. Now, the government saying they're not going to back down just because they're protesting. There was a word used by the Prime Minister saying that those who are not supporting the pro-liberation forces are essentially collaborators of the Pakistan army. That really triggered off the students who have been going out in masses on early morning.
I literally rolled my eyes just now when I heard that. Because it's such it's so typical, you know.
Yeah,
it's like Pakistan would say the same thing about they'd be like you're pro India or something like that, right? India would say the same thing about Pakistan.
Stupid.
On Monday, and that's thousands of students all across the country came out saying if we are called collaborator, then everybody is collaborator. That became the theme. And then following in the morning, there were a lot of clashes in the Dhaka University and several other universities across the country where ruling party students attacked, according to the pro-quota students, were attacked by them. Hundreds of students were attacked. And even in the Dhaka University Medical College, they were attacked inside the hospital. So things are very critical. And the students said they're not going to back down unless this quota reform takes place. The government said it's up to the court to decide eventually. The code says that the government can change and make amendments to it, but they'll have to wait about a month, which court will have a hearing and give a different decision. But the city stands. A lot of protests going on, not right behind me, but across the city. Right here, it's calm. Not yesterday, though. So we'll have to see how things fall out within the day.
Yeah, we will indeed, Tanvir. Many thanks. I'm sure we'll keep an eye on how things develop there in Dhaka. Tanvir Chowdhury there.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.
So yeah, like the fact that like you know,
the fact that what?
The fact that I pointed it out and was like, hey,
yes,
and then it's
yeah,
really exploded, right? And this this is just like the beginning phase, right? So just like in Kenya, where the protests started getting really bad when the government started overstepping too much. If the government backs down, then it's like, oh, then people learn that they can actually protest and get something.
Yes. Yeah. And it reinforces positive protest
which is just like
well.
a dumb way of thinking.
Sure.
Because anyway, so if the government just meets them halfway, right, and like basically gives them half measures to quell things, then you have the classic cycle of authoritarianism where they're winning.
Yes, it's a slow ratchet.
Yeah, so they should have this whole attitude of like, oh, they're basically agents of Pakistan or whatever. You should immediately be hosting negotiations. Like you should meet with agents of authority inside the protest movement, and you should be discussing negotiations with them. But if they went to meet with agents inside the protest, they'd probably just fucking black bag them at this point, right? So the bad part about this is that it's probably going to get worse, and who knows until how long it will take before like a lot of guns come out, or if guns will come out. This is great. This is great editing, just showing how big cutting all the amateur photography in like that.
Now we turn to Bangladesh, where some protests have turned deadly. Multiple casualties have been reported in Bangladesh. At least 3 people have died in Chittagong in the southeast, 1 in Rangpur in the north, and 1 person was killed in the capital, Dhaka. Meanwhile, more than 400 people have been injured from all across the country. Take a look at the situation on the ground.
I'm fucking here for it though, because like if you've been listening long enough, I have a lot of things to say about the government of Bangladesh and like
We demanded rational reformation of the quota system. We did not desire anything else.
The ongoing protests are against Bangladesh's quota system. Let me explain. Every year, they recruit people for government jobs. Now, these are considered safe jobs, jobs that offer assured career growth. So these jobs are highly coveted. Every year, the government releases a list of vacancies, but all the jobs listed are not up for grabs because more than half of them are reserved. 1% of all the jobs are reserved for people with disabilities. 5% are reserved for minority communities. 10% are reserved for women. Another 10% are reserved for people from underdeveloped districts in Bangladesh. So that's 26% of the jobs reserved. But that's not all. The largest reservation is for freedom fighters, the people who fought to liberate Bangladesh from Pakistan back in 1971. 30% of all jobs, all government jobs, are reserved for these people, for their children and their grandchildren. When we add this to the other reservations, the total comes to 56%, meaning 56% of the government jobs in Bangladesh are reserved. They're not open to the general public. And this is why the students are angry. This is why they have been protesting. The quota system had been scrapped in 2018 after similar protests, but now it has returned.
Yes.
Last month, a court reinstated the quotas, and that is what sparked the latest round of demonstrations. This is against various parts of the system, from the percentage of reserved seats to the vacancy rule. What's the vacancy rule? If a reserved job cannot be filled, if the quota candidates fail to clear the requirements or the recruitment tests, The job would be left vacant. It would not be opened up to the general public. That is the rule, even if there weren't enough reserved candidates applying. The vacancy remains, but it's not given to the general public. And remember, these jobs are much sought after. So these wasteful vacancies also riled up the people. They have been protesting for weeks now, even after another court order. The quota reinstatement was paused last week by Bangladesh's Supreme Court. It has put the reservation policy back on hold, at least for a month. But this did little to calm the protesters. In the last 2 days, the situation came to a head when Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina weighed in. She took a dig at the protesters. She used the word Razakar while talking about the protests. And this did not go down well with the protesters because Razakar is a taboo term in Bangladesh. It describes the people who collaborated with Pakistan during the 1971 War of Independence. It effectively means traitors, Razakar. So when the protesters heard this, they were enraged. They took to the streets and chanted slogans. That roughly translates to, I went to ask for my rights and I became a Razakar. The next chant
is so well
was
done.
even more problematic.
Yeah, this is fucking great.
And also, like, all the footage they've used is open source.
Really interesting.
Yeah, like that was a TikTok that they just used.
Okay.
So she just explained what Razakar is.
Yeah, no.
Who am I?
I'm listening. I'm listening,
right?
yeah.
No, well, yeah. I'm just saying. Because I'm reading since we're covering it. You know?
Sure. Right.
Says who? The government, the autocrat. Doesn't it sound so much like Stalinistic stuff? Like, you're a counter-revolutionary, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We are Razakars, the government has said so. Now, if you remove the second line of this chant, it looks like the protesters are just calling themselves Razakars. And remember, that is taboo in Bangladesh. In fact, it is an insult to the nation's freedom struggle. So you can imagine the reaction. There was a lot of anger from politicians who only heard the first part of the chant. What followed?
Disinformation caused this.
What?
Is what I'm
From
gathering.
The river to the sea, huh?
Crazy.
Was a wide range of condemnations and threats. But the worst was this. From the General Secretary of Pakistan's ruling party.
That's what I constantly say, is the more authoritarian a country is, the more they can utilize information warfare. Mm-hmm. So, like, people talk about how the internet, like, helped do the Arab Spring and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, like, you want to talk about information warfare being used effectively. I mean, America's just cowards to begin with. But how about Syria?
Yeah.
Turned it into these people are all al-qeada.
Yeah.
And then boom.
It's used internally even more. I mean, probably
we should have given them the fucking arms they needed before Russia got there.
Should have.
That would mean we have
He said that the party's student wing would make the Razakars pay. Not the police, not the military, but the ruling party student wing. This threat was issued yesterday, and that's when the violence escalated.
We were rallying, and suddenly the ruling party student wing attacked us in front of Bijoy Ekattor Hall first. Then we were coming towards the Vice-Chancellor's house when we were stopped there. The Chhatro League ruling party student supporters again attacked us from behind. They were hitting heads in a targeted way.
Bangladesh's quota protests have entered a violent new phase. No side seems ready to back down, and the bodies have started to pile up.
In this region, a lot of the stuff that you'll see is even on police. It's just like the long sticks, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like you'll see a lot, like if you'll see Pakistani riot control. They literally just run in and start whacking the fuck out of people with sticks to break up the crowd and whacking them on the head with these like sticks, right? And like it's not like it doesn't break up the crowd.
It works.
I mean, yeah, you literally trying to like concuss people with a fucking stick, right? So, but it's also used by like the protest movements and stuff. People will fucking like, I mean, there's a lot of times like, you'll see stuff like it'll be like a man who like, you know, entered a woman's home or something like that, right? And did, you know, something taboo of some sort, and they are literally like all the women in the village are just literally like killing the guy on the ground with sticks, like hitting him with the kidneys and stuff. So, but like it's just you know how like all the fucking you can tell if something is like a Soviet bloc country by the riot shields that the police have.
Okay.
Russia has a very distinct look, and the Soviet bloc has a very distinct riot shield look.
We hope that the situation de-escalates.
Huh?
Is it the tank?
Oh, it's the shield. They just look industrial. They're just fucking like metal looking industrial shields.
Yeah, it's the tanks. They just roll the tanks in. That's their riot control.
Well, no, this is like, I'm talking about like modern so-called democracies here. Like,
and cooler heads prevail.
Across continents,
The fuck? It's like 2 minutes of an outro. I mean, this is honestly kind of a silly, unless this is a mistranslation. It seems like a
hang on. I just wanted to look
silly thing to claim.
So these are the types of shields right here that these like Belarus, even Euromaidan, the police had these types of shields, right? And the reason they're like this is like these shields are meant as like to be more offensive weapons.
Yeah.
Right. So they have clubs and shields, and they want heavy shields to just like beat the shit out of people, right? But they also like, you know, they do the siege stuff where they siege up and these fucking huge ass shields, and they'll just shield bash people and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, what they do in Australia is they form human lines, and then they break the line, grab someone, pull them back, and then close the line. It's pretty fucking pathetic.
I mean, that's what we see in a lot of places. So what was the caption that was done?
Just the quotas favor pro-government groups. Like that's just assuming that everybody that's in those jobs are pro-government. Now, I would argue that the problem is the quotas, not the fact that they're quote unquote helping pro-government people. The fact that there are reserved quotas that don't go out to other people,
it's too simple.
Is the problem.
Too simple.
It's too simplified of an issue. Like, sorry, too simplified of a reasoning for the protest.
It's CIA coup. They're writing the sign in English. This is dog shit. It's just footage we've already seen with bad captions and translations.
Yeah, well, it's South China Morning Post. What do you expect?
Better.
Student protests in Bangladesh have turned violent, with at least 6 people killed, dozens more injured by fighting between rival groups and the police. Students have been demonstrating for 2 weeks, calling for an end to what they say are discriminatory quotas for public service jobs. They say it favors supporters of the ruling party, and they want a merit-based system instead. Tanvir Chaudhary has more from Dhaka.
Student protesting from the Dhaka Medical University We're on the outskirts of the Dhaka University campus. Now the protest is going on near the Language Martyrs Memorial. A large number of students have gathered here. There's also students gathered in many parts of the city in different intersections. They're not staying very long.
Interesting.
But protesting and then leaving the area.
A lot of people are like leading chants and stuff that they've showed so far have been women.
Yes.
In this coverage specifically, at least.
Of violence in different parts of the country.
I feel that as a student, we should all take part in these protests. We are taking a risk, and all violence against protesters must stop immediately.
We will continue the movement, and now we have new demands.
By the way, the way
aside
she has
from the
her
abolishment
backpack
of
like
the quota
that,
system.
It ain't perfect, but you can put a plate in a backpack and fucking makeshift armor like that, you know? And like if
actually, my Yeti bag might be perfect for that because I've got a laptop holder that I could theoretically use.
But like this is like the you know, she may not be wearing it that way for armor, but I'm just saying this is smart to do, especially when you're probably likely not looking at lethal rounds.
We also want the withdrawal of comment
is a good thing.
Basha Hasina and stopping all violence against us.
The students are saying they'll continue to protest. They're here to protest against the quota as well as.
Can we go back to the guy in the yellow shirt? Was he pro-government? I didn't hear what he said.
Protest against the
or the
quota
orange shirt,
as well as.
Like, because they all have
from the
headbands,
abolishment
you know?
of the quota system. We also want the withdrawal of comment by Sheikh Hasina and stopping all violence against us.
Okay, these guys are okay. I wasn't sure.
The students are saying they'll continue to protest. They're here to protest against the quota as well as the government's heavy-handed tactics and the pro-government elements attacking them and the Dhaka University campus and other campuses across the country, which resulted in hundreds of injuries across the country. They say they'll continue to protest unless their demands are met, and they want justice as well for what happened yesterday in the Dhaka University campus and other parts of the country. Tanvir Chaudhary, Al Jazeera, Dhaka, Bangladesh.
Bangladesh's top court has suspended quotas for government jobs after thousands of students staged nationwide protests.
These protests are against what they term a discriminatory system favoring those in power. On the 7th of July, students from Bangladesh's most prestigious universities took...
Keep in mind, these guys copy-paste Russian bullshit without changing anything, so...
They're oak. These people are this is probably one of the better Indians news stations, though. But like, I just wanted to mention how you're talking like literally about mandatory hijabs in Iran, like based Bangladesh, right?
Tests demanding a merit-based system for well-paid and massively oversubscribed civil service jobs.
They have our respect and we give them that respect. When someone says that he is a freedom fighter, we also feel...
Imagine the ego. How much of a pure...
How many guns do they have in Bangladesh? I don't think the students specifically are going to have much arms. Just like how when Myanmar broke out again, right? They literally shot a girl in the head, or like in the protest lines and stuff, right? Like that war started with students banging pots and pans and developed into what it is now. So it's really about who can exploit the factor. These rebel groups, I mean, Bangladesh is like the region it's in. It's not like they can't get guns into that country. Like Myanmar is right there. They're like, you think that border is going to be secure? You think you can't get guns from that country? Pakistan also has fucking with tons of smuggling routes in. And then like it's also like to the south, like there's ocean. So even if the government has a hard secure on arms, if the government oversteps enough to start something into a civil conflict, you could probably see something. And I guarantee you, another chapter of the Rohingya genocide would also start as a side effect because of all the Rohingya refugees here. There would be some group that's like anti-Rohingya that would come out of somewhere, and it would all start with, you know, like students, right? Because that's not what Myanmar is now. It's not kids protesting, you know, young adults protesting. Kind of. They used to have been conquered by the British, but like there's also like older empires. Like I'm sure the Mughal Empire had all these countries, including Afghanistan and stuff. And also what's important about the region is that there's like 4 cradles of civilization. It's Egypt, Mesopotamia, India, and China. So like the earliest civilizations come out of those 4 regions. So some of the earliest writing we have, I believe, the like is in India, like we're talking about like paper writing and stuff. Like you can see it in India. Like there's a lot of documented history specifically in like the greater India region. And then also you'll also see it with people who like to wear orange in India. They talk about a greater India movement. Even Modi addressed it as greater India. He used the word for greater India. So that's kind of the story for a lot of places, though. Like, how much different are a lot of Europeans? Like, Nordic people are a little different than Italians, you know? I mean, I can see the separation there. A lot of honkies.
But I don't see any logic in allotting the quota, which is meant for the freedom fighters, to their grandchildren.
Where students like us are not getting the opportunities for jobs, certainly there will be unemployment. How many parents have the money required to start a business? My father does not have that money. Then we are left with no choice but jobs. And there, they are imposing a 56% quota, which will certainly have an
Nobody
effect
else is
on
fucking
unemployment.
talking about Bangladesh or Kenya, really. You know?
No, they're not.
I'm glad that we have more
Bangladesh
focus on
currency
Sudan finally, but
system reserves more than half of the posts, totaling hundreds of thousands of civil service posts. Now, this system includes 30% reservation for children of those who fought to win Bangladeshi independence in 1971, 10% for women, and 10% set aside for specific districts. Students demand only those quotas supporting ethnic minorities, and disabled people should remain valid.
The quota system was abolished in 2018 after weeks of protests, but reinstated in June by Dhaka's High Court. At present, the nation's top court has suspended this order for a month. Critics say the system benefits children of pro-government groups who back Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. They also accuse Bangladesh's judiciary of rubber-stamping decisions made by her government.
yeah. Wait, you mean to tell me an authoritarian regime owns the judicial system? Hey, what's that thing? Project 2025? What do they want to do?
That? All of that? Everything?
Yeah.
Consecutive general election in January in a vote
I
without...
still love just a Venezuelan telling us that, like, Trump putting those judges in is like a coup against the justice system. Like, that's, if that doesn't like put a fire under you about how serious things are.
Opposition parties with a widespread boycott and a major crackdown against her political opponents.
Student protests in Bangladesh have turned violent, with at least
Al Jazeera.
Oh, still Al Jazeera, of course. I was like, if did PBS cover it at all?
I didn't say anything on PBS.
They will. They probably will. I didn't hear the Pod Save the World or Pod Save America guys cover this yet. They did cover Gambia though, which was cool.
Okay.
6 people killed and dozens injured in fighting between rival groups and police, calling for an end to what they say are discriminatory quotas for public service jobs. They say it favors supporters of the ruling party.
Well,
I don't. That's about.
I think that's all.
But you know, it's not like we won't have more coverage on this.
No, yeah. As we get more, there'll be more. So.
Are you aware of a CIA psychological profile about you, sir? Would you be interested in hearing what the CIA had to say? This secret study portrays as a brilliant but dangerous megalomaniac who is likely to pursue his own aims in disregard of U.S. interests. He's an uncertain ally. Shall I go on, or would you prefer that I stop, sir?